13,000 more police officers, which I think everybody wants to see more police on our streets, and I think that people will be keen to see the government getting on with that. But yes, this is about foreign criminals who have released from prison who have gone on to re-offend. Now, of course, we don't know the circumstances of their right to remain in the UK, but I dare say there'll be a lot of people wondering that if they are offenders, what is going on there. And I do think the government should be looking at this. And by the way, we were talking about immigration a little bit earlier. One of the things this government is doing is returning people who aren't supposed to be here, and they're getting on with that.
I mentioned that a bit earlier. I think 10,000 since they won the election in July. But Jonathan, why doesn't this government, your pals in number 10, why don't they release migrant crime stats like other countries do? There's a lot of pressure on them to do so. The Telegraph did some their own research last month or so, showing that, for example, Albanians, Kosovans, those from Vietnam have a higher imprisonment rate than native Brits. Why doesn't the government be transparent and public those stats?
Well, I presume they don't. Well, presumably they don't collate them in the way in the ONS, I suspect,
must do. The Home Office must
them at the moment. I mean, I'm not sure where the Telegraph have got those particular numbers from. But look, I mean, I always believe that it's important to be transparent with statistics. Of course, it is. But I do want to emphasise this point because it's not getting much pick-up. The government's immigration policy, when it comes to those who don't have the right to stay in the UK, is turning out to be effective. It is returning people to countries across the world, and it is doing deals with countries across the world. So when Conservatives come on, like Mel Stride was earlier, saying the government doesn't have a plan, well, actually, the government does have a plan, and it's beginning to work.
Yeah, they've had the largest number ever returned on one flight, and asylum returns up 50% in the last 12 months. But the Tories insist that there's been a 64% increase in small boat crossings since the same period before the election, 6,000 extra people in hotels, and the asylum backlog is up by 11,000, all since the 4th of July. I mean, you know, pick sides, decide which set of figures you want to believe. This is a huge problem. But when it comes to criminals, I mean, I'm not even talking about foreign criminals, but I have to ask you, I can't resist, about Louise Haigh. We know that she resigned last week because it came to light that she had a criminal conviction. That was spent, but the public were not aware of it. It poses a whole debate, doesn't it, about whether or not there is a life in the public service, like she was in the cabinet, for somebody with a criminal conviction. What's your personal view on that?
Well, I think it's very sad for Louise Haigh. I think I'm very sorry to see her leave the cabinet. I thought she was a very effective cabinet minister with a very promising future political career, actually. And indeed, Keir Starmer said that she will continue to make a contribution. She did the right thing in leaving the cabinet, given the circumstances.
Did she? Because
she knew.
It's not a problem.
And Keir Starmer knew.
Why did she leave? Because that's what, I'm trying to get the nub of what the problem was. Because if he's accepted, and apparently we understand Starmer knew all the details of this and had no problem with putting her in his cabinet in a government position with a large government salary, then why did she resign?
Because I think we all know that if she'd stayed in place, it would become an ongoing distraction. And I dare say if Louise Haigh was still in the cabinet today, it would be a topic of much debate on your programme this morning, as it would be on every other news channel. And when those distractions hit government, they are, as the word suggests, distracting when you need to be getting on with implementing your policies.
Well, I would say the outgoing Conservative government's WhatsApp proclivity to have WhatsApp groups saying right now, according to Nadine Dorris, is actually worse than what Louise Haigh did in terms of a spent conviction. I really do.
Well, I mean, it's certainly true that, you were more likely to see Elvis riding Shergar than a cabinet minister under the Tories resign for wrongdoing. So that is certainly true. And actually, sometimes it's a good thing, actually, that a minister has actually done what people would want them to do, which is resign and say, look, actually, given the circumstances, I'm going to go. And maybe it is possible to have a good resignation in that respect.
Maybe there's more to it and we just don't know.
Did Keir Starmer know or not? Because Louise Haigh says that he knew.
Well, look,
upon joining the opposition benches.
Well, I mean, presumably
You must have
we've
anything.
read
Come on,
that
come
we
on.
know that conversations have gone on, but I'm not privy to them myself.
Okay. Claire, let's talk about this gambling story. We're aware that around the time of the election, a number of MPs got into hot water. One particular Labour cabinet has been on our channel speaking about all of this. And what are the Times saying about it?
So the Times are saying that Keir Starmer has been urged to bar politicians from all betting or on election outcomes. You'd have thought that would have been normal practice. You would have assumed that would have been de rigueur. But we've also got Lindsay Hoyle, who is the partisan leader of the House of Commons, opening up Betfred headquarters as president of the Rugby Football League. So you've got a conflict of interest there. The Conservatives are saying Lindsay Hoyle should not, under any circumstances, have been associated with Betfred. And I do think Keir Starmer is correct to say that MPs should not be betting on any outcomes at all. You talk about insider dealing. Could they throw the election, by-election, or whatever? It's open to scrutiny, and that's what I don't like. You're in public service, you have to be held accountable, and you have to be as scrupulous as you possibly can.
I mean, this was a big controversy in the general election campaign, and we had that sort of daft aper for the Tory MP who supposedly knew about the election day, and then went and put money on it. I mean, and then I think he got sort of kicked out of the Tories as a result. Look, this to me sounds sensible. Look, what I would say, though, more broadly in terms of gambling, we do have to support people who have problems. Of course we should, but sometimes the reporting of some of this becomes incredibly Puritan and sanctimonious. I am only here because of gambling, because my dad worked in the Manchester Playboy Club casino as a croupier, where he met my mum. Who met my mum, who was a bunny girl in the Manchester Playboy. So look, I'm only in this world because of gambling.
I'm looking at you in a whole other light,
well,
Jonathan.
I mean, I'm going to remind you of your Ian Duncan Smith comments as well. So look, you're in a different light. So look, we should deal with problem gambling.
Yeah.
We should support problem gambling. But actually, the gambling industry does employ a lot of people from working class backgrounds in jobs, and as I say,
Yeah, but
I'm only here because of the gambling
Also, Jonathan,
industry.
though, in every single working class impoverished city in Great Britain, there is a gambling shop. Gambling is an addiction, and no one wins apart from
That's what my dad always taught me. Yeah.
It's true.
That's why I'm not into it myself. I'm not into gambling myself.
Kevin Craig, of course, was suspended from the Labour Party. He was a candidate during the election. He could bet on himself. He has been cleared by the gambling regulator, but he's done a sit-down with our political editor, Christopher Pope. His podcast comes out on Thursday, so I thought I'd give that a little plug as it segues nicely into what we were just talking about. Where should we go? What are we on time-wise? Should we talk about the Qatari state visit today, Claire?
Yep.
All the pomp and ceremony, red carpet being rolled out. Will we see the Queen? Will we see the Princess of Wales?
We will not be seeing the Queen at the official state visit to welcome the Qataris. She will make an appearance at supper this evening, at the formal dinner, but Princess Catherine has been asked to not up her game, but up the holes in the diary, shall we say. So she will be taking on a lot of the responsibility for this visit. There's talk of Qatari art being on view after one of the meetings, and we know she studied and she read ancient history of art at St Andrews. So there's clearly something there that she would want, she's interested in, but there's obviously a big business deal. It's that, these people do not come to this country to meet the royals for nothing other than to bolden business and to make themselves look good.
Jonathan, some of our viewers this morning suggesting we shouldn't be having a state visit for Qatar, bearing in mind their
Human
links to
rights.
slave labour, and of course recently harbouring quote-unquote Hamas leaders whilst the situation in the Middle East is going on. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I mean, there were a lot of controversy. I remember all the controversies around the World Cup being held there a couple of years ago as well. They are an investor in the UK. They're an investor in, this is about our economic ties. I think, it's not for me remotely to criticise the palace. I would never, ever do that, obviously. But you're right, there's going to be a lot of people looking at this feeling a little uneasy about this, given their record.
Jonathan, can we talk about this story? The word brain rot has been announced as the Oxford Dictionary Word of the Year for 2024 amid concerns over endless social media scrolling and mind-numbing content.
This really caught my eye, because, look, I know exactly where people are coming from, and I sometimes catch myself looking at utter drivel on my sort of social media feeds as well. Like when I sort of somehow I look at my Instagram and then all of a sudden I start getting videos. I don't even know why I'm being sent these videos. And
algorithm.
And then you watch one video.
What they think you like.
I know, but you sort of accidentally watch one and then you get sent loads more. But what really caught my eye on this is because it's been driving me mad. My 13-year-old. My 13-year-old daughter keeps singing this Skibbity Toilet song.
Oh, so does my son.
And I had no idea where it's got.
What's it called, sorry?
Skibbity Toilet. It's awful.
It drives me up the wall.
I'm with you.
And it turns out that it's a.
How does it go?
I don't even want to do it.
I've not even heard of it.
Well, you're lucky. And anyway, this is related to brain rot, and this comes from sort of some TikTok or some YouTube thing where she's just going around the kids, and it's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely awful, and everyone's getting Skibbity Toilet birthday cakes. I was in Smith's trying to buy Christmas
Skibbity.
presents, and there was a Skibbity Toilet that you could buy for your child for Christmas. Please don't go there. It's a whole. But brain rot is a thing.
Yeah.
And it's happening.
It is.
I think they call it doom scrolling, Claire, when you're, as Jonathan was describing, just suddenly scrolling for hours on end, and there's videos and they're inane and whatever. Doom scrolling, you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
What?
That's what they
No,
call it.
I haven't.
Doom scroll?
No, I haven't.
Have
I'm
you-
clearly not on my phone enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're not guilty of getting lost
No.
on social media?
No.
Yeah.
No.
You see,
Why would you want to
Wise
get?
for that.
Why would you want to get lost in something as innate as this? Why would you? Why can't you have conversations? This is much better.
Bit of escapism.
A bit of escapism. Ian Duncan Smith.
Stop. But when you talk for 3.5 hours a day, sometimes you need.
That's why you need great guests. That's why you. It's brilliant. Come on.
It's a safe space, guys. Come on.
Okay.
Jonathan, it's been a pleasure having you. Claire, thank you. Here's Alex Burker with the forecast.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. We do have some rain and some snow pushing across northern parts later on today, but for many this morning it's cold, it's frosty, there's even some fog and freezing fog around. Most of that will clear as we go through the day, and then otherwise, actually, across the bulk of the country it's looking largely fine with plenty of winter sunshine around. A bit of rain pushing into the tip of Cornwall though, and some rain starting to push into far western parts of Scotland and across Northern Ireland as we head through into this afternoon as well. It is going to be quite a chilly day despite the sunshine. For most, temperatures struggling, a bit milder though towards the southwest. Here temperatures should get into the low teens. Now as we go through into this evening, and this band of rain across Scotland is going to push its way a little bit further eastwards, and as it does so hits the cold air across us, and so that's why we're going to quite regularly see a fair amount of snow, mainly over the higher ground, but even to lower levels we could see some snow, and that could cause some problems on the roads through the evening. Further south across Northern Ireland, over the highest ground, we may see a bit of snow. Even over the Pennines there may be a bit of snow to come as we go through this evening and overnight. But across much of England and Wales, actually it's staying dry through the evening, and then as that band of rain pushes its way southeastwards, it really will just be rain for most places, and it will be quite fragmented, not a huge amount for most. It is going to be another chilly night where we see the clear skies coming in behind the front, so again there could be some frost around, perhaps not as cold as last night, and in fact in the southeast it will probably be coldest during the start of the night, turning a little bit milder as some cloud pushes in during the early hours. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow itself, and we do have a ridge of high pressure building, so a calm, largely settled start to the day and staying largely settled through the morning, but we then do have another weather system waiting to come in from the west as we go through later tomorrow and overnight into Thursday, bringing some wet and windy weather then. Again, temperatures a little bit on the low side, chilliest in the east, a bit milder towards the west, but winds picking up. See you later.
A positive outlook through the